Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 240 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined. Mathew Bacik is on the show. He's kicker for Grand Valley State Laker football. And, football's right around the corner. All the college teams, professional teams, and high school teams are starting to get rolling here. And, in a couple weeks we're going to have games. So we're happy to have Mathew on the show. We can do a little D2 and Grand Valley kind of preview and talk a little bit about his career as a kicker and some other topics. But Mathew, how's it going?
It's going great, man. Camp's been going good. Just real excited to get after it for the season.
So what's a typical day of camp? I know we were messaging before and you said that you had a walkthrough. So what was today like? Starting in the morning, what'd you have to do for football until now?
Yeah, so our coaching staff and everybody, fundraising have been getting us right when it comes to food. So waking up at 6:30 in the morning, got to get to we got like a little deck that they built a few years ago. That's where we have breakfast, kind of get with some guys, just say what's up. So that's starting at 7. Right at 7:30, we got a special teams meeting. From there, we go position. And then starting 9:30 until give or take 12 o'clock, we're in a practice. Most of the team is out on the grass. Specials kind of stay down on the turf, down in Lubbers. We kind of do our own thing during camp, just kind of get, the freshmen acclimated to what kicking is going to look like for the season, do any drills that we need to do, just because, all Gliac fields are on the turf. So it wouldn't make much sense for us to be on the grass. After that practice, we go to lunch, the dining hall. If we're not doing the dining hall, we get treated to some local shops like Uccello's, which is a pizza shop. Mancino's has been close with us. Those are subs. So they've been treating us pretty good. Following that, it's a lot of position meetings. Sometimes we got a lift. So like today, for example, we did a lift. Nothing too strenuous, just really working on explosive movements, not trying to move too much weight just because, we had a lot of summer workouts going on. Going from there, we got 5 o'clock dinner, meeting with our leadership groups, kind of getting to know people. And then guess once we got done with dinner, team meetings, and then we got to walk through starting at, depending on how early we get out of meetings, 9 o'clock, 9:30. And yeah, that's what a day in the life kind of looks like for GV camp.
Is that pretty consistent every day through camp is kind of like that?
Every day through camp looks the exact same. Got an hour or two kind of on your own, take a nap. But other than that, you're doing meetings, you're, getting some recovery process going, eating. That's really important right now because of how hot it is, guys losing weight. So yeah, just kind of trying to keep on it, getting ready for the season.
Yeah, football 24/7.
Basically what it is. Can't complain
Yeah,
though.
right. Well, why don't we go back a little bit, talk about your recruiting. So you also played soccer, so let's start with that. As a soccer player and then a kicker in football, I mean, do you think one helped you in the other? Do you think they helped you, be good at each of the sports?
Yeah, so to keep a long story short, soccer was big for me. That was my whole life. Quite frankly, I thought that's what I was going to be doing in college. But then, kind of when I got into high school coach knew I was a kicker back in the day. When everybody was the same height in 5th grade, I was the quarterback. So, people grew. I didn't really grow so much. So that's when I kind of stopped playing football after 5th grade. Um, he's like, hey, like, heard you're a kicker. We're needing somebody. I was like, wouldn't hurt to do. Just really focusing on soccer, but then football kind of just came about. And I would give all my kicking ability to soccer at first, but then you learn after a little while, a soccer kick can't really do you too good with the football style kick. That kind of differs the guys that make it in college and the guys that don't. Um, but yeah, it was just kind of all the way up through high school. I was playing soccer and football, soccer and football. Kind of towards my junior year, had some developments soccer, talking to a Western Michigan coach for soccer. Some things ended there. The guy went to Oregon State. The head coach ended up not liking me, things like that. And then I was like, you know what, maybe football, give it a little try. And just kind of went at it real hard. It must have been 2 months before senior year ended, and my uncle Dave Beebe, who played football at GV a long while ago, he hit up one of the GV coaches. Was like, "Hey, my nephew, he kicks. He really should be kicking somewhere, but doesn't really think football is the way for him." Had a little tryout from the coaches, got a walk on spot, and yeah, I mean, I keep going with that recruiting story if you'd like me to.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so had that little tryout with the coaches. Did pretty good. I didn't miss, I don't think, which was pretty cool for me. It was real windy. I'm not used to that kind of wind, and had really no clue what I was getting into at first because I would show up in high school 15 minutes for football practice and then leave and go do my own thing after that. I was not sticking around football at all. Head coach didn't really like that, but that's another story. Um, yeah. So I got invited to come to camp. Normally, walk-ons don't typically come to camp at GV. They kind of wait until school starts and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm just gonna make the most out of it. I really don't know what I was getting into. Um, Kind of came in there, guns a blazing. We had a 6 year senior at the time. Kind of crazy to think about now because he was married. Was like 23, 24 years old, and I was 18 at the time. I was like, what am I doing right now? Um, yeah, I guess to sum it all up, there was one of the days I was kicking a field goal, and the two older guys in front of me missed it, and I ended up making it. I think it was like 50 yards or something, and they lifted me up. And I wasn't sure to feel happy or mad because they were treating me like a little kid at the time. But yeah, a little wonky recruiting story. I really didn't think football was going to be it, and then God just kind of put me in a spot that I've been blessed ever since.
Yeah, I love asking people about their recruiting stories because they're so different. Everybody's got a unique path, and there's like no one straight path to college athletics, whatever your sport is. I haven't talked to a person that's like, yeah, it was just regular for me. I mean, everybody's got some little curve
Yeah,
or bump in the road, or they're like you said, there's a lot of people who have a sport that they think they're going to be playing in college and end up playing a different sport. Um, but like you said, I mean, the Lord works in mysterious ways. We don't always know the path, you know, rate it then and there and where we're going to end up in 5 years or whatever, but it always works out the way it's supposed to. Um,
100%.
Now you've been at Grand Valley for a little bit. You're starting kicker. You've got 54 is your career long in college. So let's go to that moment when you nailed that kick. I mean, that had to be a pretty exciting moment. But let's start to the kick in general. I mean, when you're going into a kick, long kick like that, haven't made one before in your career in a game. Where's your mind at? Or are you like doing your best to shut that off?
Are you just specifically talking about like my first ever field goal or just that 54 yarder?
Like a long one. Like like this is a little bit longer than what I usually make, right? It's not just like your average 30-yard field
Yeah.
goal that I'm making quite a few of. So I mean, is your mind going a little bit extra for a kick like that, 50 plus?
Oh, our head coach always talks about not looking in the rear view mirror as often because, one's smaller than the other when it comes to, when you're driving. The rear view mirror is a lot smaller than the windshield. But for me, that year before that was my redshirt freshman year against West Florida. I had a 53-yarder that kicked into the stands, felt really confident over that. And then actually, a few games after that, we ended up playing Ferris, got an opportunity for a 54-yarder my redshirt freshman year. So this was not the season that just happened, but the season before. And I ended up shanking it. And so, duality of two worlds of making a long kick and then missing a long kick. So now, fast forward to this Ferris game for that 54-yarder. Had both of those kicks in my mind beforehand, but then you really just have to lean on your process. We've got this guy, Damian Arnold. He's one of our assistant athletic directors at GV, and he always talks about trusting your process. And for me, once I get back there, you take that little practice swing, take that breath, take 3 steps back, and then from there, you just kind of switch right into your process. It's almost like a light switch. So for those longer kicks, thankfully, I've been blessed with a little stronger leg, so I don't have to think too hard on it. It's really just making sure I have smooth contact. And I prefer pressure. I think I do a lot better when there is pressure. That's just the whole game when it comes to being a kicker is you got to perform under that. And I guess that 54-yarder just happened to be another kick.
Yeah. So you like pressure. How about varying types of weather as a kicker? Um, I was looking at
Yeah.
your Instagram and there was a picture from I think it was it your redshirt year where it was snowing? Was that the final game of the season in the playoffs? Kind of a snowy mix for that game?
Man, it was something. I didn't know what I was playing as. Redshirt, yeah, it was my redshirt freshman year, so first year starting as the kicker. And it was a playoff game against Harding. They're from Arkansas. I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah, Arkansas. And they're just like, man, they're not going to be able to deal with this cold. And I'm sitting out there, I'm like, I can't even deal with the cold myself. Funny story. I saw this trick. You put Vaseline on, you stay a little warmer. I was like, man, let me put Vaseline on my feet. Then I didn't think about my feet were going to get wet. And so what happened is that Vaseline just ended up freezing. And so on top of kicking in all that snow and whatever wind we were playing in, I was kicking with basically ice on my foot. And man, let me tell you, you know what? I hope we don't have to play another game like that. But if we do, I'll know next time not to put Vaseline on my feet.
Yeah,
That was a great game.
you never know what you're gonna get playing football in Michigan. I think that's one of the things that makes the Gliac more of an interesting league that you can your first game might be 85, 90 degrees and then your last game might be a blizzard and in between you might have sideways rain one day, crazy winds the next. Like, you never know what you're going to get and you're playing so many games. Most of your games
Yeah.
are in Michigan. You're going up to the UP, you're going up to Saginaw, you're going all these different places. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I mean the Gliac, it's all over the place, and so the people that are in Florida, they're pretty blessed. But once they come to Michigan and are playing, fall football, you get a month or two of good weather, and then you're right in that snow, 30-degree weather.
Yeah. Yep. You never know what you're gonna get. I've told this story different
Mhm.
times in the podcast, but it cracks me up. I was at a Tech Ferris game. Um, I can't remember how many years ago. It was in November. It was one of the last games of the year, and it was a blizzard. It was absolutely miserable, and Tech was losing like 40-0 or something at halftime. So I said, "Heck with
Yeah.
this, I'm leaving." And at Tech, you have to walk all the way down. The players have to walk all the way down to the parking lot. So I'm leaving at the same time as all the Ferris players are walking to the lot, and they can see me in my Tech gear, and they're like, "Man, you're not going to stay support the home team." And I looked at them, and I was like, "Man, would you really stay 40-0?" They're like,
Yeah, right.
"Nah, bro, you're good." I mean, that's just
Well, it's
what you
going to take
get.
you 20 minutes to get back to your car from there.
They really gotta invest in something there. Just flatten that soccer field and put a big locker room up or something that's like
Right, yeah.
big.
I didn't really know too much about college football coming in here, and I'm pretty blessed with the Grand Valley facilities. But like you said, that tech field, when you're walking, quite frankly, 15 minutes, even Northern Michigan. I mean, we were, our halftime locker room was just a barn, basically, with some equipment in it.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get. Like,
No,
I feel like a lot of people say, "Oh, D2, that means the facilities must be nicer," but it's really hit or miss. I mean, there's some D3 programs that have nicer facilities than, say, Michigan Tech or Northern,
yeah,
and Grand Valley, I would say, is on par with quite a few D1 programs, and they're just overall athletic facilities.
yeah.
So, you know, you'd never know what you're gonna get. I think Tech's got a nice field. I think it's uniquely positioned, but the fact that it's so far away from everything really puts a damper on it. They got to figure out some way to get a locker room up there.
Get some guys on some golf carts, I think, just doing
Yeah,
circles.
it's something shuttle back and forth, have a bus waiting to take you down.
Right.
The coach can start debriefing, especially when it's raining and snowing, and you're like, man, it's halftime, and half of my halftime is going to be spent walking in the rain down to the locker room.
Yeah, that's another point. I mean, when we're going in for halftime, when we played at Tech, this was also my redshirt freshman year, I'm pretty sure. Um, we're walking back to the facility. Once we get back there, you take a piss, and then you have to run back up there and get warmed up right again because, kickers got to get there before the rest of the team. So it was just a constant doing a circle.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll be back again this season on October 10th. Um, I've got that one on my calendar to try to get to. I think it's going to be a good game. You guys are picked second in the Gliac. Tech was picked third. Tech's got a newer coach in Metlack. I think he's done a lot to turn that program around. I think Tech right now is closer than they've ever been to Grand Valley and Ferris. I think that gap has shrunk a little bit. And I think the same thing about Davenport and Saginaw. Like, I think the top five in the league are all closer than they've been. I know Ferris still has quite the lead on a lot of people, and so do you guys. But Saginaw, Davenport, and Tech are all a lot more competitive than they used to be. Football taken a little more seriously. So, I mean, you really can't sleep on any of those games.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why the GLIAC isn't one of the best conferences in Division Two for the whole nation. I think any game you look at, it's could be a team not making the playoffs if they don't win that game.
For sure. Even Northern, I mean, they've had quite the struggles, but you never know what's going to happen this year. They got a new coach. New coaches, you never know what you're going to get when you end up playing that team. You can't judge that team like, oh, they only won a couple games over the last few years because it's a totally new team. I'm not saying they're going to go out there and they're going to upset everybody, but you don't want to sleep
Right.
on those games, right? You look like, oh, we play Northern, but we play this person next week. You never want those trap games where you're like too busy looking ahead and overlooking teams.
Yeah, we've got Coach Wooster. He does a real good job with philosophies for the team, and a big philosophy that he has is just going one for one. Each game is a new game. You can't worry about the one that you got next week when you're playing on Saturday. So just going one for one when that comes to the whole game, that comes to a drive, that comes to a run, a pass, a kick. Just going one for one each time, and then you don't have to worry about what's going on in the future. So for those,
Definitely.
trap games in a sense that people talk about, they're just as important as, winning the big games that people always talk about. You have to keep going and just winning each game one at a time.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to get distracted. You don't want to be so busy worrying about whatever else is going to happen next. Like you said, every part of the game, your kick, this snap, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite kicker? Guy that you like to watch? You like their game?
Uh, Man, I don't know if it would be a bad thing for me to say. I don't really keep up with, you know, football as a whole when it comes to the NFL. I would say when I'm watching kickers, I would say the kicker I like to watch the most is probably Brandon Aubrey, purely
I knew
based off of how smooth he is the entire
I knew
time.
you were gonna say that. I just
He's
had a
just
gut
got it.
feeling. Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah,
beat him. I mean,
just watch him. It's like a golf swing, and when you watch a guy with a good golf swing, I forget. There's like an old golfer had a real smooth, slow golf swing. You're like, man, I wish I could do that. You watch Brandon Aubrey, you're like, man, I wish I could do that, and then still hit from 65 yards.
I know people always talk about, right, like if you're building a team, you need good quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, whatever. Like that's the ticket to your team is the quarterback. You got Tom Brady or whatever. But like Brandon Aubrey might be one of the best secret weapons in football because heck, you don't have to make it very far up the field, and he's going to give you a shot at 3 points. Like your drive doesn't have to
Yeah.
go very far, and we're taking a shot at a 65 to 70 yarder, and he's got a good chance to make it.
I think there was a chance for a second there. Some people were saying that he could have won MVP. It was either him or it was some other kicker. I mean, because he was lights out. It probably was Brandon Aubrey because he was what 14 for 14 or 15 for 15 or something like that, and then just kept stacking those games. Um, yeah, I feel like I might be a little biased here, but drafting a kicker might be coming up on more people's radars. I think.
Yeah, you never know. I also wondered if you were gonna say him because he was a soccer guy in college and then
Yeah.
became a kicker. So, kind of more on your vibe, soccer guy. Now kicking's the
Yeah.
thing.
I took after him. He did one football cleat on his plant foot and a soccer cleat on his right. That's something new I'm trying this year and was using it over the summer. I ended up liking it. So, call me a copycat with a white and black cleat, one being football, one being soccer. But, it was working for him, so I might as well try it out for me.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
So what are your hobbies? I mean, obviously right now you don't really have much time for hobbies. You're going football pretty consistently, and then even once the season starts and you got college and everything. So I mean, I know college athletes, you don't get a lot of free time, but when you do, what do you like to do for fun?
And as much as I can, I go out and play soccer. Just recently got asked to work the GV women's soccer camp, so I was one of the head trainers for that. Just because a few years ago I used to train some of the women's soccer player at GV over the winter. Um, if I'm not doing that, gotta love some golf. We got that nice course right by Grand Valley's campus. Pickleball is always nice, but other than that, um, I'm an exercise science major, so if I'm not, worrying about football, I got a cadaver lab I'm worrying about, got some physiology homework I gotta do. Man, like I had physics this past semester and that kicked my butt. You can ask my coach about that one. He was not too happy with that grade. Um, but hey, I passed it, so you know what? Past is in the past at that time.
There you go. So where's the golf game at? What are you shooting?
Could you say that one more time? Broke up a little bit.
Oh, what's your golf game at? Like what are you shooting usually?
So I've played 5 times this year. I was 2 over on the front nine at the Meadows, and that's all I've really done. Is the Meadows is our local course, Grand Valley. So it's 2 over. So if any course I'm playing at, I would be happy with mid 80s. You can talk to my girlfriend's dad. He thinks I suck, but that's him.
I think mid 80s is pretty solid for most golfers. What's your girlfriend's dad shoot?
He, I won't even lie, he's pretty good. I got a bad back, so I got to swing a little slow. They call me a grandpa swing, but I'm just worried about getting in the fairway. I'm not trying to,
That's all that
drive
counts.
300 yards just right down the fairway. And so he actually swings the club faster than I do. And I think I was down in Kentucky this summer visiting my girlfriend. She's from Kentucky, and we were playing their local country club course, and we were on some par 3, and his dad or my girlfriend's dad was like, "What club you taking off this par 3?" I'm like, "Oh, I got a 7 iron." He's like, "Oh, I got a pitching wedge." I was like, "Oh, well, never mind then." I mean, he hits it like 50 yards further than I do, but enough of that. He's gonna
Yeah.
be watching this and gonna be cackling the entire time.
There you go. Hey, well, you can't complain because you pumped his tires up a little bit, right? You said he's a good golfer, he's hitting it farther than you. You're
Uh,
stroking his ego a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta make him happy. Gotta make him
Right, you got to
happy.
make points somewhere. So,
Yeah.
why don't we wrap up the episode, talk a little bit about faith. I was looking at your Instagram, saw that you got a variety of posts. You're obviously not shy about it. You post about it, and more recently, I'd say within the last year, I've started to talk about it a little bit more on the podcast. I mean, growing up and obviously still today going to church, the message was always right, you got to spread the word of God. And I feel like as a kid it was always like, oh, okay, yeah, and just don't really do anything. And then as I started doing the podcast, I was like, well, that's my way. Like that's the way I can do it. I can just have simple conversations with people and we can tell stories. And it's another thing, like a recruiting journey. A lot of people have different stories about their faith, how they became so deep in their faith, or why it's so important to them. And I mean, that's what really I think is important right now. We've got social media. Why not use it to spread those stories? And I mean, we're in an era where professional athletes are spreading their journeys more than ever. Actors, different people are putting it out there. I think it's awesome.
And I couldn't agree with you anymore. I think the only issue that, not to be a negative Nancy in this sense, is not trying to be a performative Christian. And I think that's an issue where it's easy to struggle with when you're an athlete and, with social media and stuff like that, just try not to look like you're just performing for the crowd. Um, I went to a camp a few years ago, or 2 years ago. It's called the Ultimate Training Camp. And I'm sure you probably saw it on my Instagram. Um, It's a camp down in Colorado where all athletes across all divisions kind of go there for a week over in Colorado State's campus. And you just learn a few principles, one being like audience of one, just understanding that you're not performing for anybody in the crowd, you're only performing for one person. And just mainly defining that you're not, defined by the sport, you're defined by God. And it's just kind of turning your frame to where you don't need to worry so much about your sport or what's going to happen afterwards. Like just worry about God, and that's the only thing that you have to do. And on top of that is when you're playing, not necessarily representing God, but like playing for God and worshiping Him through your sport. And I would say when it comes to my mental aspect of football, that's helped me tremendously in terms of just quieting the noise outside of me. Didn't have the best season this past year, and having gone to that ultimate training camp, it just helped me with my mental state so much more. I don't know where I would have been at if I didn't go to that camp and kind of learned how to go about my sport through faith rather than just letting my sport define who I am.
Yeah, you make a couple of really good points there. The first one being the performative, like I think that that's definitely a problem with social media. Social media is to me, it's one of those things where it can be used if it's used the right way, it can be really good, right? Like you can spread messages, you can
100%.
have
Yeah.
conversations, but there are people who use it the wrong way and they put out a fake image. So you kind of gotta, I think when you're looking at stuff, you gotta like look through the weeds a little bit. And I think you have to not want to fall into those traps. You got to use the tool the right way, and when it's used the right way, it's good. And the other thing you said, which I think is more important now than ever, is athletes who are just defined by their sport. I think society is so, sports have become such a business, especially at the professional level, but now with NIL in college, it's
Out of
gotten so
college.
much
Yeah.
worse. Um, that I mean, when you've got people sending death threats to athletes because they didn't hit their parlay on FanDuel, like those are real people, and that's just their job. I mean, it's just their job just as much as your job is driving dump truck, teaching, police have whatever it is. We all have bad days on the job. Like your job does not define who you are. I think that's more important now than ever to talk about. Um, just like that whole business, it's so nasty. It gobbles everything up. It just
Yeah.
discard, and it discards people when they don't meet the expectations, right? Like if you're on the top and then you have a bad season, people are so quick to just throw you aside. Now, who's the next
Yeah.
best thing?
It's as Coach Rooster always talks about, it's get mine kind of society right now. When can I get mine? When can I get mine? I think the NIL aspect of college football has a lot to do with that. When am I going to get my start? Why am I not All American? Why am I not getting, this brand deal from whatever company? And I think it's just like you said, it's turned into a business, and people have almost changed their mind to, like I said, the get mine, the sport is going to help me do all this stuff. And rather than that, you should be saying, I want to explore this sport in order to show people how powerful God has been in my life. And I think that's something I'm working on every single day. There's sometimes throughout practice where I'm like, I'm not doing my best to worship God through my sport right now, whether it comes to, talking a little smack every now and again, or just, it's a little harder from the kicking position when, 5'10", 170 pounds. You make a good kick sometimes, you gotta say a few things. Maybe the Saginaw refs got after me a few years ago about that. Um, but yeah, just things like that where you're not trying to turn your sport into a business, but turn your sport into a way that you can represent God is something that I've been working on and continue to work on.
Right. And I think that's one of the biggest things, not just in sports, but just in our life of faith as Christians, is you're always working. You're always trying to improve. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really it. None of us are perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who aren't believers, they don't go to church, and I feel like they always go like, well, you people think you're perfect, and like that's the dig they try to get at. And I'll be the first to admit, and I think most Christians would, that we aren't perfect. We're striving to be better every day. We're working on it. You got to have your life of prayer. You got to do things, and that's not easy either. The life is so consuming. It's hard to have a consistent life of prayer because you got work. If you're in college, homework, football, all this stuff gets in the way. When you get out of college, you start having a family, kids, make dinner, mow the lawn, do all. Life tries to consume everything. but you just got to keep trying. I mean, that's the biggest thing, I think. Effort. Are you putting in the effort?
Yeah, and our local pastor, who's also our team pastor, said it perfectly. He's like, the church is a hospital. Like you're not going there because you're some perfect person. You're not going there because you're healed already. You're going there because you're a broken, bruised person that you're just trying to find your way. I mean, we're all sinful people, and like I said, the church is a hospital where people go to get better. It's not, some five-star hotel where everybody's picture perfect and you're getting served all these amazing things. People are going there because they're broken, they need help, and the only way to living a full life, I feel like, is through God, and to living a life even past the one right here is through God. And I couldn't emphasize anymore. Church is a hospital where people are healing and trying to get better.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Yeah, and that's the message we have to share to everybody. Um, it's not we're not all here because we're perfect. We're awesome, and we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. But we all need God. And that's why we're all there. That's why
Need
we're all
God.
church.
Yeah.
We're all looking to the same central, we're all looking to the Lord. That's what it is. And the
Yeah.
camp's open. Come on in, egg everybody. I saw clip on Instagram once. It was like a Catholic priest on a podcast. He said he was having a conversation with somebody, and the guy was so flabbergasted, like, "You'll have me? Like I can come to church?" And he was like, "Well, of course. Like
Oh, yeah,
everybody's
yeah, yeah.
welcome. Like we have these kind of people and these kind of people and these like everybody's welcome." And the guy he was talking to was like so just like, "Wow, like you'll have me." I'm like, "Yeah, of course. I mean, come on, come on in. Nobody, we wouldn't be true Christians if we shut the door and said, no, you're not allowed in."
Yep. I like to say you don't welcome, you belong here, because we're not welcoming you into the place. You belong in this place. This is where you're meant to be. This is where you're going to get better. Um, and just to wrap up faith and how my life has gone, like I said, I never thought football was going to be where I am. And every time I look back, God was there. Like, walked on, had no idea was going to pay for school. After a few months, got a scholarship, met some people, joined a group called AIA. That's a Christian based group. Grew in my faith, ended up becoming the starter. Went to UTC. All these things that God had put into my life that I had no clue was going to be the original plan. And every time I look back, it's like one of those things where it's like, holy cow, He was there every step of the way along my journey when I didn't even realize it. And I'm just like beyond blessed every single day. I'm like, wow, like everything is just amazing. And I couldn't have asked for anything more out of Grand Valley and anything more out of my life, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a perfect way to wrap up the episode. I think it kind of sums up all the important things that we've been talking about throughout this episode. Um, it's a great way to end it. I'm happy you came on the podcast. Excited for football season. Excited for your guys' season. Even though I went to Tech, so I have to root for Tech. But try to get to that game in October. I'll root for you when you're kicking. Otherwise, I'll have to root for Tech. Go
Yeah.
Huskies.
Well, you can root for us when we're down in Texas in December.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. I will. 100%. I always root for the people I have on the podcast. It's one of the things I like. I really enjoy getting people on the podcast before their season so then I can and follow what's happening in their sport. So, trying to do as many little football previews as we can. Had a couple of CMU guys on. Had you on. Looks like might have a couple of Tech players on eventually. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, good luck this season. Appreciate you coming on the pod.
Appreciate you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.